Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Performing Arts and Tech Lab Industry Sharing. This lab is a partnership between the National Arts Council and Esplanade with KUNUS CUTE Center as the technology consultant. I am Eileen from the National Arts Council, and I'm one of the organizing members for this lab. This evening, we have the lovely team from Verge 2.0 and their collaborators right here on stage, right? To discuss and present live demonstrations of their work, which integrates interactive technology with movement-based performing arts. There will be an opportunity for Q&A, and after the panel discussion and demo, and we also have a guided tour of the exhibition, which will be led by my team member, Catherine, as well as myself, commencing at 9 p.m. for those who are interested. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Verge 2.0.
For Verge 1, we were really exploring what we can do with the tech. Whereas Verge 2, it feels like an introspection, looking at the micro and examining what we are actually doing. We only know so much. We have limited knowledge in all aspects. And this is the first time that we are inviting collaborators, bringing people from different domains to come on board, give their input, and try to enhance the whole experience. I think this is the way moving forward, whether it's future iterations of this project.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Dr. Shantini and I'll be moderating today's session. So let me first begin by introducing the team members here, seated here next to me. We have, on my far left, we have James Lai, the project lead and the chief technologist. After which we have Eugene So, who's the creative technologist. We can chill, you can clap and cheer. Yes, thank you. And we have Norisham Osman, the creative producer and project manager. We also have Dr. Amin Farid, the dance researcher as well as dancer. And here on my right, your left, we have the collaborators for this Verge 2.0. We start with, I'll introduce Ian Pereira, our lighting consultant. And we have Dalifa Sharil, our material consultant. And finally, we have Cassie Shi, our dancer for tonight. Yes, and collaborator as well. And I would also like to mention that we also worked with a script consultant, Nisa Anwar, who is not able to join us today. And to let you know, this will be a hybrid panel discussion where you will actually witness an interactive movement improvisation. So let me give you a brief summary of Verge 2.0. Originating as a university tech project, Verge has evolved over the last decade through collaborations with multidisciplinary art practitioners. A continuous exploration of dance and technology, Verge has been presented in multiple forms, from interactive installations to multidisciplinary performances and research initiatives. This latest iteration, Verge 2.0, is a performance lecture video developed as part of the lab, and that integrates interactive technology with movement-based performing arts. So dancers adorn wearable tools on their arms that can control and manipulate sound, light, and visuals through that movement. This gesture-responsive technology creates a dynamic multi-sensory environment that synergizes with the choreography, hence enriching the performance. Accelerometers and flex sensors are strategically attached to the joints where movement is most pronounced on the upper limbs of the traditional dancers. So these components are then integrated with an Arduino microcontroller, enabling the wireless transmission of real-time movement data to a central computer. Subsequently, a visual-based programming software translates this data into actionable commands, allowing for control over various stage elements such as the brightness and colors of lights, pitch, and timbre of sound. Despite the various iterations over the years, Verge is consistently grounded by its core objective, to explore the creative interplay between technology and human gestures. Apart from facilitating the fusion of movement and multimedia elements, Verge 2.0 is relevant to dancers of diverse cultural backgrounds and genres. Moreover, it enhances the creative process for performers and delivers an immersive experience for the audience. With the potential to add more sensors, stage controls, or even dancers, new performance possibilities are waiting to be unlocked with future renditions. So this was a 9-month process, just to let you in on how long it took. But I guess we can start by having some questions. The first one, perhaps to James Lai. So could you tell us more about the initial inspiration behind Verge and how it has evolved over time?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming here tonight. Verge 2.0, as the name suggests, is a latest iteration of a project that I've been working on. As mentioned earlier, it started as a uni project slightly over a decade ago. That gives you my age, but yeah. So anyway, my background is I'm a music producer and I'm a sound artist, and I was really trying to find ways to make what I do a little bit more interesting and interactive. So I started playing with sensors and devices to enhance the music side of things. And soon after that, I came back, I did some installations, and I met Dr. Amin Farid over there. Before he was a doctor, of course. Before he got his master's, if I recall, right? Yeah, before all of that, yeah. So, and we started working together. It was highly improvisational and experimental, okay? And over the years, we've done a few things, done a few iterations. It wasn't called Verge back then. And because we've been working for so long, right? And I guess I can kind of read his mind when it comes to collaborating on this kind of tech and performing arts-based work. That a lot of things are unspoken. It's like we just go instinctively. And moving forward, came COVID, and we decided to work on this again. And we decided to, okay, now is the time to really try to formalize things and be a little bit more strategic and structured in our approach. And Verge 1.0, like I mentioned, happened during COVID 2021-22, also funded by National Arts Council under the Digital Presentation Grant. It's a great grant. And we collected all our research work and put it in a kind of a website where you can find all the information. The software that I've created is open source, so if anyone is interested, you can download it like right now. How to make the hardware as well, parts of it. And fast forward to Verge 2.0, right, this is where we are right now. We decided to really expand this work, and we introduced a second dancer. What we really want to find out is, how do I translate what I've done with Dr. Amin Farid, right? All the work that we've done together for the past 10 years, how do you translate that into a new dancer, right? Of course, I have only met Casey this year, or earlier last year, and we've not worked together before, but Verge 2.0 gives us this opportunity to kind of investigate that. Yeah, and we've done a lot of things. I think subsequently the other members will share a lot more. So that's like the origin story of Verge, if you will. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, James. Thanks for that. I think with that, I just want to move to Dr. Noramin for your questions.
Yes. Hi.
So, as a dance researcher and performer, how do you see the integration of technology enhancing artistic expression, especially in the Verge?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Okay. Responsive. Very good. I think for me, working on this project, or the many iterations of this project, has got me thinking a lot, as a practitioner of traditional Malay dance, and the sort of opportunities we get to experiment. Coming from a background where we don't really get the opportunity to explore, of course, with technology or with choreography. Also at the same time, because the form itself is very communal, rarely the solo dancer gets that opportunity to explore. So this, for me, gave me that opportunity to explore movement, but at the same time, with the integration of lights and sound, and how that informs the body, also how that also informs the choreography. So at the same time, I think enhancements, especially for Verge 2.0, was this comparison between a Malay dancer and a Chinese dancer. We do acknowledge that we are very different forms, but of course there are similar movements that are present. Hence, the necessity to have a framework where we can work from, so that we are able to see how our movements, though different in intent but similar in shape, was able to affect sound and light, and also now with Verge 2.0, the possibility of manipulating images as well. Yeah, so that in itself I see as an enhancement. But other than that, it was also an opportunity for me to reflect upon the years that me and James have practiced, as in work together, and also to not take the practice for granted, because through the comparison itself, we saw opportunities to evaluate, opportunities to see how we are different yet very similar at the same time. So all of that came into play as we were exploring.
Thank you, Amin. I think really the idea of interdisciplinary, it's really pulling not just disciplines but people from different areas together, right? And to kind of work together to create. So that's great. Thanks for that. Could I throw a question at Norisham, please? So, Sham, could you just walk us through the challenges faced during the development process of Verge, and how your role as the creative producer actually helped to overcome that?
Hi everyone, my name is Norisham. Thank you once again for making your time for us tonight. Let's talk about why am I suddenly appear in the picture of Verge 1.0 and then 2.0. So I was invited by James to be part of Verge 1.0, but more towards a production manager role. And at that point in time, it's more of doing outsourcing of materials, a consultant, and also preparing the space for the shoot and all that. Then, during that moment when I was involved in that so-called Verge 1.0 recording, I was really kind of fascinated by this idea of a dancer, a solo dancer, who's able to control all of the technicals without even having any technical team around the space. And also giving that artistic expression holistically to the dancer body themselves. And also from there, I've been thinking and questioning and asking James, what is the future of this device or product? Then happens, he called me in again in 2024, and then he said, okay, we are going towards Art and Tech Lab. Then he wanted me to also question and be part of the team. So this time around, I come in as a creative producer role and also project manager. So during the process, I was asking myself, what is this technology and how do we play, or how do we understand this device, right? Again, this device is supposed to support the dancer, or this device is supposed to control or put a restriction to the dancer. So again, I try to understand, and I try to ask him more than once whether this is the direction that we are going. So are we creating an improvisational tool for dancer, or are we trying to educate anyone who wants to learn how to dance? So there are a lot of possible directions for us to maneuver, right? But then I realized during the experimentation, because there is this phase of experimentation that requires us to look deeper into the product or the device itself and the mechanics of it. How do we really set certain direction to it? So then we decided, or more or less, we kind of think that this device, there is no definite definition to it. So you can do a lot than just limiting it to one simple sentence. So for example, it can be used as an educational tool. It can be used as improvisational tool. Again, it depends on how the user, again, custom it to it, right? Yeah. So again, if you are asking me in terms of the challenges just now, that is what we are facing, like which direction or which angle are we looking at in terms of selling points to make accessibility for the audience, you know, or even the users. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sham. We were, we were just having this quick discussion behind, and I was sharing that, when it comes to pulling something so interdisciplinary, right, and so tangible at that too, it's almost as if you know sound, or you know visual, or you know lighting, or you can move, which is, most of us, almost all of us here, moving, right? I think then this could really help us learn about all the other disciplines. So it's just got this amazing potential in that. And if I can just segue a little bit into knowing about technology a bit, right? So Eugene, this is for you specifically. Could you elaborate on the specific technologies that you used in Verge 2.0 and how they contribute to the overall performance experience?
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Eugene. Well, firstly, the technology side is largely a collaboration between James and I. So in Verge 1.0, we always, and in this version also, we are looking at both the hardware and the software elements. So as you can see in the software, there is a new element that we've added, which is controlling visuals. So right now, Casey is manipulating just a circle by moving her arms, her wrist, and her elbows. On top of that, for the software, we kind of try to make a user interface that is slightly easier to understand. And by slightly easier to understand, I mean now I can understand it, and instead of just James being able to understand it. Okay, so we are still getting there, but it's definitely an improvement. So that's the software side of things. I think a lot of the advancements were kind of in the hardware, where in Verge 1.0 we used an Arduino Uno, kind of the most simple Arduino chip that you can find out there. It's a bit of bulky chip, and I think when Dr. Amin was wearing it, he said that he could feel the technology on him. So I think as a team we wanted it to be more of a, let's remove the whole idea of you are wearing a piece of technology on you, such that you feel like you are in your original element. And so a large goal was to kind of minimize the size of the chip. So we bought a smaller chip, also an Arduino. It's a nano version. It's also a little bit more powerful, and we soldered everything into a protobot ourselves. And we also added on proper industry made flex sensors, which are on Casey's arms and the elbows there and her wrist on the right. Those were much better than the first iteration because in the first iteration we had to DIY our own ones and it was a little bit not so sensitive. So a lot of the data that we were getting was not as good as we are getting now. And so kind of a combination of both the hardware becoming smaller, making it lighter, and it being more powerful also combines into making the software react better and enabling us to get better results. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Eugene. I love the way you talk about how technology is now like an extension of the moving body in some sense. That's really lovely.
So now Casey is going to be doing a short improvisation. We're going to show you everything all in once, the lights and sound.
Thank you, Casey. Can we give Casey a round of applause, please? So now we have I have some prompts, questions, clarifications for our collaborators on this end. We'll start with Casey, okay? So Casey, could you just share with us a little bit about your experience as a dancer and how that has been influenced by the integration of this wearable technology in this Verge 2.0 performance?
All right. I think for me it's kind of mixed feeling. I would say excitement, curiosity, and also it's kind of like creative empowerment. And initially, I feel like it's kind of sense of awe and wonder as I explore the movement more, then I can feel it's kind of, I can explore mobility the technology offers. At the same time, I feel I need to be very sensitive to the sensors because, you know, I manipulate with the sound, light, and visuals. I need to balance the tradition and also the innovation in between. Do not overshadow it.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Thank you for that. Yeah, we can clap. Okay, I'll just like to move to Talifa. Maybe we could just check in with you because you're the material consultant.
Okay.
Yeah. So how do you see the choice of materials contributing to the overall aesthetic? I mean, as dancers, we need the aesthetics a little bit, as well as the functionality of using this wearable tech.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Dalifa, I'm the material consultant for Verge 2.0. Maybe before that, Casey, you want to stand up first? Bring you to the front so the audience can see. Right. Okay, so for me as a material consultant, when I was first approached to do this, actually I wasn't really sure what they want, you see. So when after they informed, I mean like we have a discussion meeting and all that, then first thing comes to my mind is, how do I make the dancer, the person who's going to move, comfortable with whatever they are wearing. So there's a lot of try, test here, test there, what kind of top that I need to get for the dancer. I mean like usually I was, there are times where, there's ones where we tried like a spandex top material, which it doesn't, it's not suitable, because when you put it on, you put on all the flex sensor, all this armband, everything will boop, drop, it will drop. So yeah, then there's a lot of tests going on for me. And then especially for the pouch, if you can see the pouch that we put the device, right? So this pouch, I actually have to do like about 10, 12 pieces of tests to make this pouch, to make it suitable for not only for the dancer, but for the device to hold this. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that, there's a lot of work that was done lah. I mean like, you cannot put the battery inside the pouch. I have to make an extra little slot in front, and then I can't use the sewing machine because the needle keep on breaking because of the material that I used, and then I have to hand sew all the pouch, including the strap. It looks easy, but actually, guys, it's not. Really. Yeah, so all these things have to take into consideration, and also especially the armband. We tried using other materials, it just doesn't work. It will drop and drop. So this is the best material that and most suitable that we found. And then, yeah, we tried it on a few times, and then it works. And then, yeah, with the help of James, we find the material to cover the flex sensors and all. Yeah, just to make sure that everything is intact and the dancer is comfortable when she is moving. Yep, that's about it.
Thank you for sharing your labor of love. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, and we have a question for Ian. Yes, so Ian is our lighting consultant. So from a lighting perspective, what considerations do you think needed to be in place to ensure that the technology enhances rather than detracts from the visual experience of things?
Hi everyone, my name is Ian. So for me, I thought of 3 ways when using this piece of equipment in the performance. And I thought of it as your control, the intention, and also the storytelling. And all these will help to mitigate the distraction factor of having like lights just moving all around you. So one of the things that we thought of is that the dancer or the performer has to have total control of this piece of equipment. They should think of it as an extension of their body, like we mentioned. And one of the most important factors is understanding the limitations of the hardware. And in our tests, in our experiments, we realized that actually the lights can't move as fast as humans can. What's that? There's a bit of a lag, if you get what I mean. Casey, do you mind just moving very quickly? It kind of doesn't know what to do. It's a bit lost. Yeah. So this is something that we discovered, and I think to make it less distracting in a performance setting, it will be having the performer really understand that, hey, there's some limitations to how the light moves, and yeah, that really affects. Number 2 is the intention of the performance, intention of the movement. Can we go to the set 2? Yeah. So in our experiments, we realized that actually there's an infinite amount of ways that we can map the lighting control onto the body. You can put red here, red here, or you can put red like here, but then red here, but it turns to blue, for example. And because of this infinite amount of ways, it was very important for there to be intention in the movement and intention in the way that we map the control of it to the body so that it becomes something that's harmonious in the performance. And then lastly is storytelling. I think that would bring this from something that may be seen as a novelty to something that will be actually used in performance. How does this relationship create meaning, you know, and value add to your performance rather than just being like a wow factor? Yeah, so these are the three ways that I thought of.
Yeah, thank you. I think what you shared is really important, like how does it really add to the entire meaningfulness of that experience, right? Whether it's for performers or for audience. Yeah, thank you. I do have a question, and I'm turning to Dr. Nur Amin because he will be answering on behalf of Nissa, who was the script consultant because she's not able to be here today. So this is the question specific for the script consultant. How does the script complement the choreography and the technological elements used in Verge 2.0? And what role does this storytelling actually play in the overall experience?
Okay, so I work very closely with Nessa, who wrote the script, partly because as an academic, sometimes I tend not to remember that the audience who are witnessing or trying to understand what we're doing might get too confused by the sort of things I might say. So it was very nice to have Nessa on board because she is a playwright and also a journalist, and by virtue of those roles, she's able to make the work that we do accessible. So you can see the work can be quite complex, especially when we are working with sound, light, and how the body translates and also work with the device. So it was very necessary that we work closely together, and she was always trying to ask me questions about, so how would you say it simply? And that for me was a very good exercise, a humbling one to be honest, to think about, because the people who might be using our device in the near future might want a simpler way of saying things without having to be too high and mighty about it. So it felt really important that we had that conversation. And of course, we're constantly having to tweak the way we say it, the way we talk about it. And also the storytelling part was important because we need to show at least the journey in which we were working with this device, because it wasn't as simple as one day the skies came down with the device and and suddenly I got the power to play with light and sound and whatever, right? But it felt necessary that whole process was also documented and was also shared in a manner that was accessible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for sharing. I think this just gives us really the tip of the iceberg of what had been going on for Verge, and it has been like a 10, 11-year collaboration between James and Amin as well, right? Almost PSLE, yeah. So I think now would be a good time as any to open any questions that you may have, because we see practitioners, we see educators in the house. So I guess it'll be nice if you have any thoughts, insights, or just simply whether you want to know more about the technology, more about the creative process. I think it'll be great to hear from you all. Yes. So maybe I'll start a little bit first, and I think I'm just picking on some of the things that James, Amin, as well as Shamil were talking about. What is the next step for this, for Verge 2.0? I mean, I guess it's open to anyone here. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start.
Yes.
okay, because they're all looking at me. Well, we've been talking about it. Everyone's been asking. So you're not the first one to ask. Will there be a Verge 3.0, 4.0, Verge 50.5, or something like that? I don't know. But what we are certain is, from Verge 2.0, we understood that there's endless permutations and possibilities. Whatever I've done prior to, I think even Verge 2.0, Verge 1.0 and before that, some of them feels like they could be Verge 4, Verge 5, because they are like performances and all. And now we are going a step back, and really, like I said in the video earlier, we're looking at the micro, and we are really trying to understand what we are actually doing so that we can really put this out and share with other people for others to adopt what we are doing as well. And so maybe in the next step would be continue on this kind of trajectory. We're thinking of maybe now we have traditional Chinese dance, traditional Malay dance. What if we add a third dance form, right? And what dance form would that be? If we look at something like, say, traditional Indian dance, a lot of footwork, right? Then our senses are not on the feet right now, so that's something to think about. What if it's a traditional Thai dance with a lot of fingers work, right? So that's also a different set of considerations. So that's one. And even though Eugene mentioned earlier of the development of the tech, there's a lot more that we can do. For instance, I think it can go even smaller, to the point that it's negligible. Just put it on. That's the dream. How we're going to get there, I don't know at this point. And later you see at the exhibition, we will have the setup over there as well. You can try a light version of it. And we're using, wireless network that's happening. And everyone's using wireless network. Your phones are on right now. To the point that when we were setting up for the exhibition, there are like gremlins crawling in the Wi-Fi network. And it's causing some disruption. So I'm on a kind of a considered ancient tech already. It's like 2.4 gigahertz, 3G speed. Now I'm looking forward to like 4G, 5G, better performance overall. So, and of course, we would love to put up a show. So if any adopters, any funders, please speak to Dr. Amin Farid, and we will speak to you in more detail. Yeah, that's what we have at this point.
I would like to add, stop calling me doctor. Anyways, yes, I must say that, I lost my train of thought. Okay. I personally feel that what we sometimes forget is the way we work with each other. Now, how James works as a sound technologist and how I work as a dancer, we speak different languages. And it was truly interesting through our conversations. There were sometimes when Casey and I would look at James like, you just don't understand us, like how we work and how our body move, And then, of course, James would go like, yeah, but it's as simple as this, but it's not simple, right? It takes a lot to try to get us on the same level in which we can speak to each other in a manner which we can truly, fully understand each other. Even at Verge 2.0 and after 11 years of labor of love together, we still can't grasp how to fully communicate with each other because we work very differently. Personality-wise is one, but the form itself, how we practice our form, how we speak about our form, right? So a lot of times in the rehearsal process, it was a lot about trying to understand what we mean by certain words. When we talk about technique, right? When we talk about movement, when we talk about form, we speak very differently. So to be honest, it can be Verge 1000, because we will constantly work on discovering new ways in which where we can find that level playing field to speak and work with each other. So I think we cannot underestimate the process in which we try to comprehend each other's vernaculars.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Dr. Amin. We can take questions from the floor. Thoughts, insights, just comments. There's a question over there.
I think among the audience, there are artists and there are geeks. So I'm the geek type. So could you share a bit more detail about, I mean, going to a specific, let's say, when Casey bends her arm, how does it translate to changes in lights, changes in sound? That's the first question. Second question is trying to take an art form that has evolved over thousands of years, which is beautiful, dance, which is, but you're only capturing, I think, the elbow movement, and also elbow in relation to each other, in relation to where the dancer is standing. You are neglecting the eyes expression, the head movement, the torso, and things like that. So my question is, how will you want to make the translation from the movement to the sound and music part to be more nicer? Currently, it's just a lot of strange noises. And the lights looks okay, not fantastic. So how do you want to make it to be something which is aesthetic without forcing certain things into it? Yeah, I ran out of words to say already. Thanks.
I'll address the first one on what is controlling what. Is that the first question? I've designed it in such a way that whatever that we want to experiment on, we can assign. So just talk about where the placement of the sensors are and what they are. Firstly, there's one accelerometer motion sensor on the right arm. So when you notice just now when she raises her hand, it gets louder and lower, softer. And on that same sensor, you can track the left and right rotation of the arm. So that can change something. We have 2 flex sensors on the elbows and then 1 on the right wrist. So the reason why we adopted this is because I think any more that we add for Verge 2.0 will be too overwhelming, because we already have a lot of data points to collect and to use. And for the purpose of the project, which is to try to find the middle ground for 2 different dancers from different dance form adopting tech, we decided to stick with what these sensors are and how they are placed. And we can manipulate any parameter that we've set for sound, lights, and visuals. For sound, they can do the simple things that are pretty common to understand, which is volume, how high or how low the note will go, and the tone of the sound, the timbre, and also some effects, which keep it very simple. Interestingly, you mentioned like the sound is like noisy, right, earlier. Verge 1.0 was really noisy. So we were manipulating sound and turning them into bits and pieces of noise, like that, right? And the response was, okay, cool. I guess similar to how you feel right now. Like, okay, this is great, but it can be done with it doesn't need the person to do it, right? And that's why after speaking to a few people, they suggested, why don't you put pitch and more traditional parameters of music and sound so that more people can relate to it, volume, how high or how low the note go. Those are pretty universal, not super, but we can all relate to that. And for lights, again, there's endless permutation, and depending on what lights you use, we are limited with what we have, what we can use within these 9 months. So we are controlling, besides the movement, which if you realize we didn't really use much today in the demonstration, because as Ian shared earlier, it can be a bit too gimmicky, and mechanically you can't catch up with the human body. And then we control dimming and colors. Previously, we explored like the gobos and the rotation and effects. This time around, not so much. We stuck to the basics, similar to the sound department, right? Then for visuals is the newest kid in the block. We have no idea what we're doing, to be honest, and we are not visual specialists, none of us over here. We dabble with it, but we are not like pros in that. So again, that is the newest thing, and we are just really experimenting and see what it might be like. Yeah, so the second part.
Sure. I think it's very interesting that you are posing these questions, because I think that question comes from the creative side of your brain. And everyone over here who is Whether you're a geek or you're a creative or an artist, you have a creative side of your brain. But when we were developing this version of Verge, we were kind of trying to step away from being a creative and just trying to understand what is it that we created in Verge 1.0 so that we can tell people these are the things that you can do and then open it up for people to create, you know. Verge 1.0 was a very experimental dance and sound experiment. Verge 2.0 is kind of like, this is how you use the software, which means actually Verge 2.0 should have came first before Verge 1.0. And I think I can't really speak for the dancers because I don't dance myself, and
You should. You should dance.
I can't. I need lessons from you.
Sure.
But then, yeah, it will be very difficult for like the tech people again to have that conversation with the dancer and create a very interesting performance to showcase to you, because I think we will need another whole 9 months to develop a show like that. Yeah.
I think to answer that question with regards to the practice of our art form, thank you for that question, for appreciating that, you know, for dancers, there's something more than just movements, but also the acknowledgement of our own, facial characteristics and emotions. But I think this project in itself, I think we're working a lot with the idea of subtraction. Like, if we're going to, like, there will always be a market for spectacle, for the multicultural, traditional art spectacle, which we are so used to. I think the idea of subtracting certain features that we are so used to, and especially for the dancer, is helpful, because then we are trying to truly go into certain aspects of our form, and that in itself offers other opportunities to see how the work can evolve. I think also by setting limitations for something that has so many, and it can go many ways, was also necessary. And we were working mostly with our extremities, because that's the most obvious. But of course, surely, if we were to go deeper, there's so many other things to look at. But that's definitely something that we can take on board in the near future. But I think for this moment, in trying to just getting ourselves to familiarize and working together, dancers from two different forms, it was necessary that we looked at something more obvious, which was the extremities, the movements of our joints, arms.
I thought of it as like playing an instrument. These dancers, they know how to play the piano, for example. Like, they know how to play the piano, they can move their bodies. But in wearing this tech, it's like learning how to play a synthesizer or something that you can put an infinite amount of sounds into. It's so different from playing a piano, and so different from just sitting down and looking at it artistically, because there's so many things that you can change and fiddle with. And I think at this point, it is still in its, I wouldn't say infancy, but they are still learning. You have to learn how to master the instrument first. Yeah, so that's how I see it.
Thank you. I hope that kind of answers a few of your questions. Thank you. I'm just cautious of time, so perhaps if we can take one last question. You have the microphone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this. This was beautiful. It's actually, my question is an extension of what you just spoke about, the interdisciplinary challenges, and I think tension is a beautiful thing. It's necessary. You need tension to heighten amazing projects. I'm curious whether there were any moments where you took the practice of someone else into your own. So say whether it's lighting in tech in dance, where you observe someone else working, and instead of a resistance, you felt a calling to invite that into your own practice and work?
Okay, I guess I'll start first. Verge 1.0, we almost strapped everything together by ourselves. I think amongst the four of us, right? It was a difficult task because I don't dabble with lights. I mean, I play with it, but I don't know how to do it artistically and beautifully like a proper lighting designer would. Same for Eugene. We are both like music and audio guys. Sham, he can, but I don't think he will put like lighting designer as the first thing in his CV, right? You were right, yeah. I mean, same thing. So we are strapping together like whatever we know and trying to pull off a production for Verge 1.0. And it just felt like it's you know, the idea is there, but it would have been so much better if all the different departments are like properly executed. So that's why in Verge 2.0 we invited the collaborators on board to really help us elevate the whole project. And when we had our first meeting, I remember, with Dalifa and Ian in Eugene's studio, we were like they were asking us questions and we were asking them questions. And the insights that they've provided was rather instant and very revealing. What I haven't thought of before. You know, it's very humbling. And like, okay, I didn't think about that. Like, sometimes it makes me question or it makes me want to challenge. Maybe that's the ego talking, right? But I bring it back and unpack and I think about it, and you really have to go with the flow and trust the specialists, because they are the specialists, right? How would I feel if someone would tell me, I think this chord doesn't work with in the song? I'll be like, oh, you're right, this is the chord, you know, things like that. So yeah, and with KC, also super eye-opening. I can't emphasize how much, how rewarding it was for me to be able to witness this. I still have no idea what they're actually doing half the time, but it's a step forward and endless learning process for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a good question for me, actually. The reason why I'm saying that is because I see myself as a bridge to the practitioners and also the technologist. But I couldn't help myself at times that I have to question from a perspective of a dancer when we are in discussion, especially when we talk about what are we trying to find here. Okay, what is the direction of this device? Is it to help dancers, or is it to restrict dancers from moving more than just having the freedom of improvisation in the space or experimentation in the space? And also sometimes I have to play different hats, you know. I have to learn how to respect everyone, and I also have to learn how to respect myself as an artist and also as a creative producer. I have to know my boundaries, my lines, so that I would not step on each other's toe, you know. So I think it's about knowing your role at the right point in time when it's needed. Yeah, so I would say even sometimes I meet up with Dalifa, and then we were talking about the materials. And I know that I'm not supposed to suggest anything, but sometimes I have to, because it would help in terms of the process and because of the timeline that we have. It's so short that we have to come up with a snap decision, right? Yeah, but then again, yeah, like I said, for this project, Verge 2.0, it's more about understanding our capabilities, our understanding or knowledge in terms of trying to understand this device. Yeah, I think that's how we sometimes have to be a chameleon, change to change ourselves. Yeah.
No. What do you want me to say? in the process of trying to adopt this interdisciplinary approach, for sure, there were a lot of times when we have to undergo a process of self-realization and reflection, because I think, you know, as by being a dance scholar, it's the assumption is I should know music too, but it's not always the case for how we learn, and you know, and having to listen quite intensely to the changes in sounds was necessary, especially because when there are changes in sound, it's not very obvious. As much as when you move your hand, you can see the differences, right? That's very different. But then, you know, so you need to, so that the times when I have to understand what would the changes in sound mean, so that's also having to put on the role or the hat of you know, what people who are trained in music would be hearing, or sonic sounds and noise would be hearing. Also at the same time, I think there is now intra as dancers ourselves. You know, we also did moments when we learned each other's forms. So for me personally, it was also very revealing that Malay dance in its fluidity and its graceful is very different from the sense of gracefulness that Chinese dance would be, especially when they're so, in my view and in the way I describe it, to be very sharp and to be very swift. So that in itself, we notice that it also changes the manner in which the lights would move, or in the manner in which the sounds would change. So yeah, so that in itself was very encourages that discovery.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, if you want to find out more about what Dr. Noor Amin said, you can watch our video. It definitely shows the differences in the characteristics of Chinese dance and Malay dance. And it's very lovely edited by Neil, who's in the audience today. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think without further ado, I will hand the time back to Eileen.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Once again, thank you to the Verge 2.0 team for the very insightful sharing, to Casey for showing us the live demo and very beautiful dance movements, right? Feel free to chat with the team to find out more, right? And we invite you to view the project team's exhibit, which is just right behind. But please give the Verge team some time to set up their exhibits as they prepare for their booth. There will be the guided tour, which is happening in a few minutes' time right here at the entrance, right? But before you leave for the day, please scan this QR code right here up on the screen, and it can also be found near the entrance, right, to share feedback of your experience here with us today. Once again, right, thank you everyone for being here with us, and we'll see you at the front for the guided tour.